All right, I'm sitting here with Lance Batton on Chillin. I'm Indigo Forest, your host. It's good to be hanging with you, man.
It's good to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So we're just chilling, talking about life. One thing I notice about you, almost like directly, is like how supportive you are of like your peers, like in the music scene and just around, and like you really show up and show out. And there's like a lot of people I think in like the younger generation that are just like organized and on it. They like do it as like a second nature, and I think that's like a really cool thing.
Wow. Thanks, man.
No problem.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, when you came to the Spring Acoustic Show, like I feel like you were enthused. You're enthusiastic, like audience member. Like
Yeah.
you were posting videos. You're, live streaming. You're doing like all that different stuff to just like make it interactive and like also like make it marketable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. First off, that was a great night, really cool event. Love the Wick Yards, but also like really love what you're doing in the scene, and I appreciate it, what you're doing in the scene. And yeah, man, it's all about community for me with the music. I mean, it's the communal aspect of music, like really can't be overstated. And I don't know, I know that I'm a part of that here locally, and I can be wherever I'm at when I'm traveling. And so I just, I do my best to contribute to that and to make it about the community,
Definitely, man.
Yeah.
And like I feel like it's not as hard as people make it out to be. And I feel like the older generations, I think, either have a hard time like relating or had a hard time understanding the benefit of it, or maybe there's like a little bit of competition in there rather than the collaboration. But
Yeah.
I feel like the artists we have in like the scene now, like across genres, definitely are more in tune with that, just like the community aspects, the communal aspects, rather than the competitive aspects, or like, oh, it's only about me and my music or something like that.
No, yeah, definitely. I think there are generational differences, like you said. And I think, like, especially since post-COVID, I would say, because I've been in the scene this is my 10th year, actually, of, like, playing shows.
Right.
And, and I would say definitely after post-COVID, it seemed like that, as things started opening back up and shows started happening again, like, there was more community, there was like more variety with music, and it seemed like that was embraced. And I mean, you'll still get people who like, they're kind of just there to like promote themselves and whatever and do their thing, maybe they're not as in tune with it, but a lot of people I feel like are definitely,
man. And it's cool to see like that shift. And I think some of that post COVID is also just like an appreciation for life, appreciation for community. Because there were instances during COVID where, we needed to look out for each other. Or if you knew grandma was sick, you had to go deliver stuff to her house because grandma can't leave the house. Like, different things like that. So, like, we just, as a species, as a community, like, we just kind of learn to appreciate the life that we have more. And, like, if you didn't get that lesson from COVID, like, you still learn it.
Yeah.
So
head on out and learn it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's like a huge cultural shift too, because I feel like a lot of people are seeking like some kind of like grand thing in the future rather than like appreciating what we have now. Like they want to get to heaven or they want to do this or they want to like live in a paradise one day, or they're seeking retirement or they're searching for the weekend or like whatever it is, rather than just like appreciating what we have right now, like in the moment.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's like these like preconceived ideas about like what things should be, and you know what I mean. I think sometimes if like you hyperfixate on that, or like I don't know. I mean, because it's good to have ideas about like what you want to do and like where you want to be in the future, but I think sometimes like people get lost in terms of like what's going on right now in the moment, and kind of speaking to what you're saying, like I think. I don't know. I think there has been a bit of a shift in terms of like people wanting to just, focus on the moment.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I think it's more accessible because of like technology, information and stuff like that. We see, and like we're saying, COVID, we can appreciate the moment more because we see what happens when the moment's taken away from us.
Yeah.
As well. And like just with like Men's Mental Health Month and stuff like that too. It's like a mental health thing to focus on the moment as well. And I feel like as a species, we're becoming more self-aware, you know, and some of that's because we see so much behavior on the internet, and we're just like, oh, I don't want to be like that, or like, you see ways of how you don't want to be, as well as like modeled behavior of how maybe you could want to be, or things that work, things that don't work.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, technology, I think, gives us a lot of like positives in that sense, because like you can see
general exposure too.
Yeah, and general exposure of like the possibilities, kind of like what you were saying. And I mean, it works, you know, on the flip side too, I guess, in terms of like sometimes like it's like a confirmation bias type thing. You know what I mean? Where like people will be like, this is how the world's supposed to be because I see it from these outlets or whatever.
Right.
You know?
And it's really just their algorithm.
It's the algorithm. Yeah. Oh yeah. And it's right. And people can get lost in that too. Right. And sometimes it can get to the point where like you're not like actualizing what you want for yourself. You know what I mean? You're kind of just like
being subjected to media, or like being subjected to influences that
or the algorithm, or definitely.
Yeah, and it's easy to get caught up in that in a consumeristic, capitalistic culture, because it's like everybody wants to sell you something, you know,
an idea, even, you know,
for sure.
Obviously, like material goods, but like an idea, or you know, like a perspective.
Yeah. And people will message you on Instagram and be like, hey, I want you to be my Instagram model. I'll send you 300 bracelets or something.
Right.
Like, what? I don't even need 300 bracelets.
Or like, you want to make $1,500 and like, I don't even know who you are and you're not real. Like, definitely not real.
And I feel like our generation is in sync with that kind of stuff. Like older generation struggles. Like my grandma, after my grandpa passed, you know, there's men who like hit her up on the internet and they're just like bots, and she has no idea. She thinks they're like real people, and she like is like lonely, you know, and I feel for her. But like at the same time, it's like she's seeking attention through like random strangers, you know what I mean, rather than like messaging a family member or like stuff like that. And like it's kind of to see that end of it, like where it's going, is like just like preying on people, you know what I mean, like, which is unfortunate, but like that's at the end of the day how a lot of those systems kind of work. Like they prey on like people's desires, whether they're positive, negative, anything like that. Like it's the news as well. News definitely too.
It's like preying on people's vulnerabilities, I would say, whether it's their desires or like things they're seeking out. And sometimes that's like fear driven too. I would say a lot of times, actually, you know, of I mean, sometimes it's like basic needs like security or like comfort, like I feel alone, I'm seeking it out here, or I feel insecure, so I'm seeking validation here, or I feel unsafe because of X, Y, and Z. Whether they're valid ideas or not, like sometimes algorithms and sometimes like influences will take advantage of that.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
It's unfortunate too. I mean, you know, like with the loneliness and stuff, like it plays on that, which is just messed up. You know what I mean? Like technology, and it'll create those problems too. Like sometimes it can like isolate us so much. To the point where you're just in like your own like thought bubbles, and then it's just like a cycle from that point. You know, it's crazy.
Like you see like a depressing meme, and you click on it because you're like, oh, that's kind of ironic, funny, you relate to it. But then like when you do that and you're not like liking your friends' posts or something like that, the algorithm would just be like, oh, you want to keep seeing stuff like this. And like you said, you get caught in a corner, you get caught like trapped, you know, in a maze, essentially, where you're not even running it at the show anymore. Like, and that I think is where some of that AI stuff can get tricky, but like AI can be a really beneficial tool. Like the way I use my Instagram and Facebook, I pretty much only see the things I want to see, and that's models, music, and memes.
I was hoping there'd be another M there at the end.
Models, music, and memes. And my
just
friends,
good stuff you want to see.
And that's okay to me. Like I want to see those things, and that's what I want to subject myself to.
Right. It's got to be a balance, right?
It works. Yeah. But you have to be consciously aware of what you're engaging in, because like if you do like that post or comment on that post, that's the type of stuff you're going to see. Whether it's negative or not. Like if it's something that you hate, and you're just commenting on something that you hate, well, you're going to keep seeing the stuff that you hate because you commented on it. You know?
It's like, it's definitely important. I was going to say awareness too, about like what you're putting out there. because it's literally going to come back to like there's the algorithm. It's kind of like karma, honestly, you know. But
sure.
then it's like that, but also like what you're bringing to the table, like when you go to pick up your phone or get on your computer or something, like what are some of the things that you're going to be seeking out or like hoping show up on your page or whatever, you know what I mean? And then being like aware enough to like navigate that.
Yeah. And then like there'll be some times where like I don't see somebody's page, so I have to go in and change the settings. And like if it's somebody I really want to see their stuff, you can go in there and change the settings and be like, I want to see more of content like this on the person's page.
Yeah.
Which is like extra work sometimes, but at the same time, it's like not that hard, you know?
Right.
So like it's really about accountability too. Like if you want social media to be a tool for the betterment of your life, you could use it that way, or you could just let it pollute your life. Like it's up to you as the user of the tool, you know what I mean, to make it work for you or against you. Like it's consciousness versus unconscious. You know, are you unconsciously hitting that like button, or you really enjoyed that, like, and you're aware of that, so and that's okay. Like, so it's a mix of all that stuff.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that was something for me too, because like honestly, like I mean, I know like obviously you see like, you know, with my band the Head Trips, like Instagram, Facebook. I'm on Facebook like personally, but I really don't use it.
Yeah.
And I used to be on Instagram personally, but I stopped using it. And I think part of it was just because, like, I don't know. I think I just wanted to, like, distance myself from just using my phone that much and, like, just being, because, like, it's just so easy to, like, be caught up in all that sometimes. You know what I mean? And, like, I don't know. I'm also, like, a really busy guy. And so, like, I just got a lot going on in my life. And, like, if I still want to see stuff, I can see it, you know, hop on Facebook or like with the band page or whatever. But I don't know. It's funny though that we're talking about this too, because I was thinking about like getting back on Instagram personally, and like I honestly, like, I don't know, just think about like what it would look like for me doing that now, because it's been a while. You know what I mean? So
like what your algorithm was a year ago or whenever you stopped. You know what I mean? 2 years ago
versus like, now. And like, you know, I like what I want to make that. Or what I want to make out of it, you know. So this is a good like conversation to have, I think, before that. So,
yeah, for sure, man. And like it's good to take breaks. Like that's definitely a big thing. Like during COVID, I pretty much gamed nonstop, and I wish I would have spent more time with music or something like that. So it's important to know what, or just to start to become aware of like some of your unconscious behaviors, you know. And like gaming was definitely like a coping mechanism, because like I could be social with it, you know what I mean. I could do all the things. I could hang out with people, like I'm hanging out with people, and I feel like some of it was healthy, but some of it was like I was playing this one game for like 16 hours, you know what I mean, a day or something like that. Like not, that's like an exaggeration a little bit, but it's like, you know. And I love gaming, but there's been times in my life where I've had to just abstain from it entirely, because I'm like, I'm doing way too much of this. Like, and it's just about knowing yourself, and that's like an endless kind of journey. Like if you feel like something is influencing your life in a negative way and you need a break from it, that's like okay, like you're allowed to take that step. And I feel like that's another generational thing where it's like Gen X and behind that
and prior
and prior are thinking, oh, I gotta handle this, I gotta get through this, rather than like just letting certain things go. You know what I mean? Like they feel like they need those things in their life because it's always been there.
It's like conventional for them, which kind of goes back to what we were saying before about like these ideas about how to do things, right? Like, I feel that too. I feel like our generation, like, it's kind of a flipped coin, because like I feel like everything's intensified with just technology and like how we're at the same time connected and isolated. And like I think with some people it's like there's like hypersensitivity, or like there's hyperstimulation, and there's like improper ways of like handling that. But then I think some people, like you've been saying, are like in our generation like real like attuned to that, and like aware of like, okay, maybe the conventional way of doing this isn't the right way, or maybe like what I'm seeing constantly, actually I need to stop, or what I'm doing constantly I need to stop. You know what I mean? Like
we
just
have more
having
awareness of that.
Yeah, more awareness of that, and like just like I don't know, like different possibilities, I guess, if we're talking about it in a general sense, you know.
Yeah, and some of that's about exposure to information as well. Like, you know, we're
Definitely.
exposed to more conversations of mental health and being in self awareness. Where, you know, like I said, back in the day, they'd just be like, "Oh, you'll get through it. Like, you'll be fine." Like, our generation like is able to have some of those types of conversations, like the conversations that we need to have, like. If you think about like your real friends, like do your real friends know how you really feel like on a day-to-day basis, or do you just tell them, oh, it's fine? You know what I mean? Everything's fine. You know, and there's a balance with that too, because like you don't want to spill your guts to your friends all the time and like burden them. But if they're your real friends, like you have to have that connection. You know what I mean? And you have to have that connection with yourself too. Like, what is talking about this A, B, C, or D going to bring to my life, or like what am I venting? Do I need advice? You know what I mean? So before you start that conversation, you kind of have to know what what direction you want to go.
Yeah, I was gonna say like have the awareness of like what your intentions are and like your needs and stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah, and like you said too, it's honestly complicated because it's a lot of balancing with the technology, with relationships, with this ties in with technology too, but like, you know, mental health awareness, but also like the fact that like our like I guess as a species, as you know, humans like globally, like we have access to more information than we ever have.
Yes.
You know, at least from what we know in history, you know what I mean? Which is another thing too, like just trying to navigate like, okay, like in theory, like all of this stuff is being thrown at you. How do you process it, like make sense of it, and like how does that affect your everyday life? Yeah, it's a lot to think about for sure.
It is, man.
Yeah.
But like I feel like we're at a cool point in history in that way, because it is what we make of it. You know what I mean? Like we were talking about with Instagram, like, or any kind of tool. You know, you could use it to benefit your life and others' lives, or you can use it to destroy, in a sense where it's like, I'm talking about unconsciousness versus consciousness. You know, conscious behavior is going to bring a benefit. It's going to bring joy. A subconscious or like not unconscious behavior is going to kind of spread in that way as well. Like, so it's like, if we're talking about mental health, it's like, okay, let's say I have ADHD. I self-medicate by smoking cigarettes. Okay. That is spreading an unconscious behavior, you know, where it's like, oh, if I take accountability for my ADHD, I go to the doctor, I go to behavioral therapy, or I take medicine, whatever I do that helps me with my ADHD in a conscious way.
Yeah.
You know, then that's going to only spread more consciousness, because people are going to look at you and be like, oh man, this dude has ADHD and he's like taking care of himself, man. Like, oh, I have depression. Maybe I should go to therapy, or like I should, you know, figure out things that work for me rather than self-medicating, or like doing things like that. So like it's complicated because it's an individual experience as well as being a collective experience, because we're all the same species, but we're like subjectively experiencing that collective. So like while we have a lot of the same problems, like what you're going through is something that only you can
fully understand.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I think you bring up a really good example with like the smoking and ADHD, because like, I don't know, something I was thinking about too is like how, and you kind of mentioned like collectivism or like collective mindset, and like how easily behavior can be mirrored and normalized.
Right.
And kind of talking about earlier too, like conventional stuff or like traditional stuff of like, oh, well, you know, like someone could say like, I smoke because I grew up in a house where my parents smoked or something, for example, or like whatever, or like you see people smoking on TV or just out in public, and like it's like normalized to the point where like, I don't know, it's like with that or other things, people can justify it, you know what I mean? Definitely. But you're right, there's a subjective experience too of like, well, this person is doing this thing at this point in time because of their experience, you know? But there is like a part of their experience that is taking in their environment, basically. And so
also reflected in their environment, because like you said, people can see that,
like mirror
it as well. So it's definitely like everything is like a wave, like a frequency. So it's like if if one person starts taking better care of themselves, it goes into a philosophy called Stoicism. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's like, but it's tied in with that. Like everything is like a web. You know what I mean? So like if I do one thing here, like it's gonna have this ripple effect.
It's drop in the pond or whatever, the lake.
The ocean, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's such a magnificent thing, I think, to be aware of, because like I feel like a lot of older generations, like they had community, they had some like symbiosis in like a lot of different ways, but like now we're kind of like a global thing. We're connected on a global level via the internet, so it's like, now how do we interact with each other, you know? Like now, like and I have friends from playing video games literally across the world, and I think that's like such a privilege and like such a cool thing to be able to experience like in this time, because I could have differences, similarities, and like all this different stuff, but it really just like flips the world kind of on its head, because we were often like so divided or so like pinned against one another as like for nationalism or racism or like whatever it is. Like I feel like we were put in all these different boxes,
ideological differences, on different levels for sure,
right? And like, oh, even with like genres or styles, like, oh, those are the skaters, and like we're like, it's so easy to do that, and like that's like it goes back to tribalism too. Like it's easy to put everybody in boxes and stuff like that. It's harder to just be like, you know what, like we're just people, like, and we're just experiencing life together. And some of the coolest communities, some of the coolest events I've gone to, like even in Columbus, that they have like an art scene out there, and it's just like automatically diverse. They're not like holding signs like we are diversity,
like this is our group or whatever.
It's just like already a diverse group of people, just because they're all like a part of this collective scene. And like I feel like we're getting that in Youngstown now, like that kind of like spirit, that kind of like consciousness is like gaining traction, you know, where it's like we're this collective group, you know, we're going to be supportive of each other, because like as artists going into like mental health, like we need to support each other, to be honest, because like institutionally we're not getting a lot of support, you know what I mean, like as far as education, as far as like this area, the culture of like Northeast Ohio, I think is a lot more focused on sports and certain things on the average level.
A lot of history, for sure, of that.
There's a lot of history of music and stuff too, but it's like undervalued, underappreciated, you know.
It has been, in a lot of ways too. But no, I agree. I think like in this area specifically, there's been quite a bit of resurgence, and like you don't even have to travel far to see it, like you've said. You know what I mean? And I've been fortunate to see that too, like traveling out of town and just immersing myself in music, you know, as a performer, also as just an enjoyer of music. But yeah, no, dude, I also think too, like, it's cool how that connects back to music, but I also appreciate like how much like knowledge you have, and like I can tell like you've thought about that stuff like really well. Because like I don't know, like before this, like, you know, obviously I know you through the music scene and everything, and like we've talked before, but I just think it's so cool because a lot of the stuff like you're bringing up here, like I've read about and like thought about, and like we didn't script this either, you know what I mean? And this is just like off the top. No, dude, I love it too though. I mean, I think you've a lot of really good points on it, man.
Thank you, I appreciate that, man. It's I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was 18. So like I'd just go to the library, read about a bunch of different shit. I ended up at Susie's. I worked downtown for years. I've been a singer-songwriter since I was a kid. So like when I heard the music at Susie's, I was literally just walking up and down Phelps Street, because I worked like at the food court across the street from there. I was getting off late one day, and there's like a band setting up, and they like tried to ID me. I was like under 21 at the time, and I was just like, oh,
I remember. So I just remember the days.
Waited outside. They had the patio open, and I just sat out there smoking a cigarette and just listened to the music. I was like, this is life, man.
Dude,
And
that's so funny. I played down there like through high school, and you know, pretty much like
I bartended there. I was a manager.
We probably crossed paths just without knowing each other.
That's why, like,
because you definitely like when like we like met or whatever, like you looked familiar. You know what I mean?
That's why I was like, you were in something, like, and I felt like I was almost like offending, not like literally offending you, but I felt like me not remembering would be offensive. But I'm like, I know you from somewhere.
Right.
I was trying to pinpoint it. I was like, was it this group? Like, I was trying to name them. But...
And then plot twist, I played with like so many bands. You know what I mean? Maybe not so many, but I played with like, you know, a handful of bands, and I've had a few bands of my own, you know, through high school up to now and stuff. And so, yeah.
What's your favorite, like, either venue or like city that you've played in or anything like that? I'm putting you on the spot a little bit. But,
no, it's all good.
Like, we were talking about that, and you were talking about traveling and playing for so many years.
Yeah.
So, throughout the years, what do you think, like, either the most fun you've had, or your favorite venue, or maybe favorite city you played at?
Yeah. Well, I will say right off the bat that, like, most of the traveling I've done has been, like, for leisure. Like, it hasn't been music necessarily. Okay. I mean, I've traveled a little bit for music, which has been really cool. But I don't know, favorite venue. I mean, if we're talking about like local, I mean, I think it's gotta be Westside Bowl.
Yep,
I love it there. You know what I mean? Westside Bowl. But like, I don't know, like as a
performer and as a listener.
That's a good question too. Like, there's definitely levels to it. I was gonna say too, though. I mean, like the Wickyards is a DIY venue.
Yeah.
At least I would say. You know what I mean? So
Wickyards
like
and Cedars, I like the DIY.
Cedars is great too. Yeah, for sure. I mean, you get some good variety in town.
When I ask people this question, they have very similar responses. Like, where it's like, if we're talking about DIY space, you know what I mean, it's going to be a little bit different. But like overall, like vibe, probably Westside Bowl. Like, just I would say one of my favorite venues just in the area. Period. Like, I'd rather probably go to Westside Bowl, just like sound wise, lighting wise. They have food.
Yeah.
Like, if I go somewhere,
the bars,
they don't have food. Obviously, the bars and stuff. I'm like, you gotta be able to, if you have the all-in-one package.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's Westside Bowl, because like it's like a date night. You don't even have to go there for the music. You could go there for
bowling. Yeah.
No, like, and you get a sideshow. Like,
yeah, for sure. It's like it's an experience, you know.
It is an experience, man.
But sometimes like the DIY vibe too. Like Wickyards has like a very special vibe to it, and Cedars like they have the projector in the background. It reminds me of like, I don't know. That kind of reminds me of like in like the 60s, like in Haight-Ashbury, like where they had like the acid houses or whatever. It was like a ballroom or something, you know. And they had like projectors and stuff. Like Cedars kind of gives me that a little bit, and it's like a classic bar vibe, you know. But I was gonna say like out of town too. And this was honestly probably like one of like the better shows, or like the better experiences of shows I've played to, is Mahal's up in Cleveland.
Okay,
and that place, I mean, it's also, you know, got the bowling alley aspect, and it's got like multiple stage setups too, and that's awesome. I don't know. I would say like maybe out of town, that's my favorite.
I gotta check them out.
You know, yeah. Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, if you get to go. I mean, I've seen shows there too. And yeah, it's really cool. So
nice. My favorite venue of all time, I'll say, is Mr. Small's in PA, Millville, I think. And it's like, because it's an old church, like the acoustics are designed like for the building to carry like the prayers of the monks and shit like that were living
carry the sound.
Carry the sound.
Yeah.
So like when you hear, like, I saw Animals as Leaders there, bro. And it was wicked, because like I would be upstairs on the second floor getting a slice of pizza, and I can hear that shit like I'm still right there.
Yeah.
Because just the sound carries. And like that was probably an old kitchen area, and like you had like nuns and monks probably like making food and stuff like that in that area. So like when they're praying and chanting downstairs, like you still hear that upstairs. And like when you involve technology and all that stuff, it's even more clear.
Oh yeah.
So like I'm kind of like, you know, nerdy about that stuff. So like I'm
for sure.
I'm like, whoa, bro. Like, and look how big my ears are, bro. Like I pick up on all that little stuff. Like, I'm like,
no, I think it's something where like you can appreciate it more as like a fellow musician too. You know, I understand that a lot. But yeah, I was actually just out there for Millville Fest last month. I was playing with Riley Burke Band, and we played outside, but I went in to Mr. Small's and like saw a few bands playing in there while we were, you know, hanging around town and stuff. And first of all, like it was like, because like the lighting was so minimal, and like it was something about like being in there. It like reminded me of, You know what it reminded me of was Pirates of the Caribbean, like the ride at
Yeah.
Disneyland. Like it was something about the atmosphere.
Yeah, because it is dark in
it
there,
was
man.
it was like the darkness and like it was way cooler, like really hot outside. So like there was something in my mind that associated with that. But like the music and like the stage set they have in there, like everything's really really nice, and like the sound quality and everything too, like you were saying.
Yeah, I like how you can enter through like 3 different doors too. So like if I want to go to the front, like if I got to go pee and then go back to the front,
Yeah,
it's like easy access.
it's easy to move around.
Yes,
Yeah.
maneuverability at concerts is so important too. Stage AE also has good maneuverability. They're outside.
I was just there for Bleachers last week. It was awesome. I was actually gonna say too, like Pittsburgh is like another city I've played in, and like I love, I just love the city like altogether. But just like the different parts of town, like I've played out in Millville, I've played in Oakland, I've played like in Pittsburgh, you know, proper, and yeah, it's a cool city. Like I've gone to a bunch of shows at Stage AE and everything. Like even just concert going there, I feel like is real cool.
Same, yeah.
PNC Park,
Okay.
I went there. I saw it was the Hello Mega tour with Green Day, Fall Out Boy, and Weezer, and it's like it's considered one of the best ballparks in the country, if not the best. And I'm going there again to see Green Day in September, and like it's
that's super exciting, man.
It's just epic. It's just epic being there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's right across the street, right from A.
Yeah, right down the road or whatever. Yeah, and you got the city view and everything. Like it's just it's cool. Cool place.
I gotta play out, man. I played my first festival last year, and I've had like 8 gigs this year.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
For me, like especially with like music being more like a part-time kind of thing, it's like leveling up. Like I've like quadrupled what my work output was last year as far as music goes this year.
That's sweet,
and,
man.
Like it's like really exciting to see because like then like next year, what's that going to look like?
Yeah.
So playing out of town, I think it was one of my next goals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this year, I wanted to be like booked for summertime, and I'm booked as I want to be. You know, comfortably.
Yeah.
And like and respectfully. And outside of that, like I think like next year, I'm like, man, if I could play, PA, if I could get up into Cleveland somehow, and I know some cats out there. And I know some like open mics type stuff in Pittsburgh. I know some open mics in Cleveland that I might go check out because I'm like, as an artist, I'm trying to find my own like signature. And like, I think one of the things I'm really going to do with my music as far as performance, I think a part of my set's going to be like improvisation. And because I have a lot of fun with that. And I go to a lot of jam nights. Susie's jam night pretty much taught me everything I know. Dante, Nick Frank, Andre Reed, Justin Randall, a lot of those guys, like just them playing constantly and me listening constantly because I worked there, like taught me so much. And then I started bringing my hand drum out there, so I'm playing with like skilled jazz musicians, like
that's so cool
with my hand drum. So like I gotta try to catch up, like I gotta try to be on my stuff,
Yeah.
And like these are like kids who are going to not kids, but like dudes who are going to music for
studying
school.
this. That's a good challenge for you too to try to keep up with it and add
so
to
I think
it.
like now I can play hand drums with any band. Like I can play hand drums with fucking jazz band, with like R&B, with rock. You know what I mean? I can make it sound good, and it's just because I love rhythm, and like playing a full kit is good too. But like I'm not like as coordinated with my foot. So like with the hand drums,
it takes practice.
Yes,
for sure. That's more my thing is like the full kit,
Yeah.
But yeah.
So like it's just like I'm getting my first paid gig to play hand drums now too.
Nice.
And like some of it is like marketing too. Like I have pictures of me playing out there because people, my friends and fans or whatever, like have taken pictures of me, posted it, and then I'm just like, okay, so like this is letting people know that like I'm more of an auxiliary player, and I know you're kind of an auxiliary player too.
A little bit, yeah.
So like
a lot of like shakers and tambourine, that type of stuff.
Right, but you can like what I'm saying is you can like fit the mold of like what somebody kind of needs. Like you play guitar, you play bass,
you play
bass, drums.
Yeah, my guitar playing is real basic for the record, but but I want to develop it. Yeah, and a little bit. Like auxiliary, like I do what I what needs to be contributed.
Right, and I'm also like that. So like I have a keyboard here. You see like my electric piano. Like I play a little bit of everything. Yeah. So like it's really about me finding my space in like the music scene. And even like with the acoustic thing, like I'm like creating a space for it too. Like I haven't really been asked to play a lot of shows, so like I'm like I will just create my own. There's a few I played with Ty Piper. She asked me to play hand drums with her. She's also put me on with like the Brian Blinsky gig, and John Blackshire put me on to a gig. Cool. So I've had a few people put me on. My buddy Clarence, my buddy Malik put me on for like their different shows. They had an art show at Westside Bowl, and they had like this one called Bars and Guitars at Westside Bowl. So those four people have like put me on. But almost every other time, like I've had to create it for myself, and that's okay. It's just like a lesson in the game. You know what I mean? Like where it's like you can't always expect others to be inclusive or anything like that. Sometimes like you got to kind of put yourself out there and make a space for yourself, and that's where the acoustic nights are coming in too. And my vision for that is more like an acoustic showcase. And I kind of took some of those ideas from going to hip hop showcases. So they got like a hugely like fat lineup for a lot of hip hop showcases.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll do just one or two songs, but they'll like do a music video or like something like that too. And then it's on to the next one. And it's kind of like a rapid fire, just like get like all these artists in there. And I kind of wanted to do that, but with the singer-songwriter stuff is usually more intimate.
Right.
You know? So I didn't want it to be like a super stacked lineup, but like I'm thinking like 5 people is a good number.
It was a really good balance, I think, of what you did with the spring acoustic event. Yeah, and I definitely see those like influences now that you mention it from like going to hip hop shows and stuff, because like up in because I'm going to Kent State for my master's now, and I went there for my undergrad, lived there for a while, on and off, and there's I want to say like last year they started it, or maybe the year before, but it's called Painted Lyrics.
Oh, okay.
And it's like a arts, like an arts collective, like music and arts, and they've done like hip hop showcases. I've had some of my buddies who are in Painted Lyrics like play like at my house when I was living up there and stuff, you know what I mean? Like I've tried to like feature them or get them hooked up with gigs and stuff, different events. They've done like open mics. I was gonna say too, dude, like just, now that like we're getting to know each other more and like doing shows together and stuff like that, I'll definitely like, keep you in mind if like you're trying to get out of town and play out, or like if you're trying to do stuff, like hit me up. I'll try to get you plugged in either maybe in Kent or like you mentioned like Cleveland, Pittsburgh, like open mics and stuff like that. Like,
and I just went out to Kent for a show out there, and it was pretty cool. So, but like I would like to see like some more of the scene out there. So like when you go back, bro, just invite me down one week.
I'll come, for sure. We can go together. That'd be cool. Yeah, hit up a show. I was gonna say too, because you mentioned the hand drums and stuff. That's cool. You do that. I didn't know it. I'll keep in mind too. For other people, but also if I need you for something, or
man. I play bass too. I play guitar. So if somebody drops out, like I was telling my buddy Larry, because he's got this comedy show coming up, and like he wants me to play hand drums for it.
Cool.
And I was like, but if anybody else drops out of anything, like, you know what I mean, I can
fill it.
I can fill it, like if I need to. So I would say what I'm weakest at is probably keys. That's probably my weakest point, and that's just because I love it for songwriting.
Yeah.
But like performing, I'm just not as coordinated yet. Like it's like a coordination thing.
That's funny you say that, because I'm like that with guitar. Like pretty much spot on. Yeah. I play, I mean, basically it's like power chords, I can play like Green Day and the Ramones and like punk stuff primarily, which is pretty much like, that's like the core of like my background with music too. So like, well, at least with me playing music, that's like the core of my background. But I use it for songwriting. Like sometimes that'll be the thing I go to. I'll pick up the guitar, and that's how I'll figure out like, what notes we're doing and stuff like that, and I'll kind of just go from there. But I don't have the coordination either to fully engage with it yet.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Right.
Who knows? Maybe I'll pick it up.
Yeah, that's my goal this summer, I think, is to learn more songs on the piano, because I feel like if I get a keyboard, that's gonna be able to market me on like a different level as well, because like there are gonna be gigs. Like I feel like I could eventually get into like the wedding kind of thing, but like I don't know. Like I know that usually pays pretty good, and I don't mind doing covers. but like that's
it's good money.
a couple years down the road.
Yeah.
There was my one buddy Mason was looking for somebody to do an acoustic gig. It was like only a 30-minute set, but I had to like learn specific songs that they wanted me to.
Yeah.
And I feel like it wasn't the right time, right place type thing, you know, for me at that moment. But now with guitar, I could pretty much learn anything I need to. You know what I mean? Like I've been playing for so long. And I want to be able to be that way with the keys too, you know? So like if there is a gig that's looking for something like that, I could be more flexible, you know?
Right.
So it's just making myself more marketable as an artist, like, and honestly, valuing myself. It was a life lesson going back to the mental health thing. Like I feel like in the past, I didn't value myself as an artist as much because I was like, oh, I don't want to go into it for the wrong reasons. And I'm glad I kind of like hesitated because I feel like the younger me would have made a mess of things, because like you know that constant like classic artist who's like an addict or like who like does this or does that, like, you know what I mean,
because they don't handle their stuff before getting into it.
Exactly. And that's what I needed to do. I needed to like handle my mental health. I needed to handle that stuff before I got it into the music scene, before I started putting myself out there like that, because it's just like I don't want to send the wrong message or like paint the wrong picture.
Right.
You know what I mean? When I'm trying to be a good community member, I'm trying to be the best version of myself.
Yeah. And that's great. And that's like what we were talking about earlier too, with like the intentions and like acting consciously and like having that awareness too. Like that's really cool to hear that like you valued that and like you had that pause and that, you know, that like
reflective,
like that like reflective manner about you before getting into it, you know what I mean?
Thank you, man.
Yeah I think it's, you know, that's something where like I don't know, I feel like I've been balancing a lot of stuff out, like with school and with work, and like music's been a huge part of that. It's been extremely validating. It's taught me a lot, you know, like you said, like how much it can be in terms of like a positive thing for mental health and just like my sense of self too. And it's just it's definitely something I've had to balance out though, you know, because sometimes things slow down a bit because you gotta like handle life, you know, you gotta go work or
you know, spend time with family. You gotta like
exactly like for sure. And just, you know, you take it as it comes, and like you said, when you're able to like lock down and do it and participate, you know, you I don't know, I have a similar viewpoint. It's like I'm acting as a part of the community. Like I want to express myself. It's like I'm doing all that at once. I want to express myself, and I want to like, you know, these are my songs. I'm proud of them, but at the same time, like I'm in the community, and I want to like absorb what other people are doing, not just from like my own like songwriting influences, but also just like to enjoy what they're doing and like hear their experience and
be present in the moment.
And be present in the moment. Yeah.
And just enjoy life. Like see other people's expressions too. Like what somebody else's story might be. Like, cause I'm like all my hobbies, all my different skills, like I think they all kind of come back to storytelling at the end of the day. And that's like just like a very human element. Just telling stories, you know, like what kind of message are we trying to send to ourselves? What kind of message are we trying to share with others, you know? And that goes into that like self-awareness, self-reflection, because if you're constantly mean or passive aggressive to yourself, like you're going to kind of give that kind of energy to other people too. So it's like you want to make sure that like your energies, like your own self dialogue is like in check too. Like, and like I feel like sometimes you go out in the community and like you could just tell when somebody's having a bad day or something like that. And like it's like I never it's not that I don't ever have bad days or anything like that. I just don't go out. You know what I mean? If I'm not feeling it, like, you know, I'm not going to force myself to do something like if it's not going to not like bring me comfort, but like if it's going to inhibit my growth or like inhibit my where I want to be in that moment.
If it poisons the well a bit or something.
Yeah.
No, I totally feel that. And it's like, again, kind of like those expectations of like, well, you know, go out and like, you know, like, I don't know, sometimes it's like go to parties and stuff like that. And like, sometimes, I don't know, you just need a pause. Like, I'm like that too. Sometimes I just need like, honestly, sometimes I need more of that because not because of like going to parties and stuff, but just being so busy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or like, I'll be like out of town for a bit and I'll come back and I'll be like, boom, boom, boom. I'm back to work and stuff. And sometimes I need that pause.
People like us, like on that hustle and that grind is like, you have like that to-do list, but like on that to-do list, do you have like relaxation
Yeah.
on the to-do list. Like,
Yeah.
and like even having to have relaxation on the to-do list is kind of like, you got to think about that as on a personal level. Be like, man, I got to put relaxation on the to-do list.
Yeah,
like,
no,
I'm doing too much. Like sometimes,
right? I have to consciously relax, literally,
yes,
and it's
exactly.
like, yeah, no, for sure.
I don't allow myself to do it sometimes. I have the similar problem. Like the other day, I just laid in the park with a friend and I cried. And I tried like not to like, and it was like tears of joy, like tears of release, like because like I really vibe with that person, and like I like the sun was hitting me, and that's why I tried to like play it off. I'm like, oh, the sun's just hitting me in a certain way, but like it was because I felt so at peace because I wasn't doing anything. I didn't have like, oh, what's next on the agenda? But like, you know, like and we'd be doing that to ourselves. It's like the Alice in Wonderland. Like I'm late. Like money, like, yeah, like. But
like you just let go of all those like things on your mind, and you were able to just like be in the moment,
right? And because I was like in tune with the earth, like we were literally just like laying on the ground, the sun
taking
was
it in.
And that's where like the environment can be a positive influence. Like we're talking about our environments being negative influences, but like moments like that, you isolate yourself from the.
Well, sometimes it's nature.
Yeah.
As I say, but what else were you gonna say?
But that's what I'm talking about.
Though. Is like the nature of things.
Yeah, isolating yourself from like the human element of life and like going back into nature and just kind of absolving yourself, like, or ridding yourself of like all of those, you know, needs, wants, desires. Like, oh, I need to check my phone. I need to do this. Like unplugging, in a sense, like, and just going back to our roots. And just like being there. That's one of my favorite things about gardening, man, is like I don't gotta think about anything. I just do. Yeah. And like I like manual labor because like you said you do landscaping too, right? Yeah.
And I was looking at the houseplants and stuff when I came in here, and I'm real into houseplants and stuff too, and that's kind of on a similar note, but like landscaping too.
Yeah, so and like with that you see like an instant result.
It's therapeutic, dude.
It's so therapeutic.
It's very therapeutic. Like even like the labor of it. Sometimes I'm outside. I'm like with nature. I'm working with nature. You know, and it's I mean, like especially in the world we live in today too. It's like it's so easy to be disconnected from that because I think that's a big theme in a lot of ways. The things are done and the ways people think, but that's why it's real important to like put that on your list. Like that's part of the relaxation sometimes is like going to a park or something, or like I love going for runs outside, you know, or jogging or whatever. It's just same thing. I'm just outside and I'm just taking it in, you know what I mean? Like it's not even just the exercise as part of the therapy or like, you know, the labor being like physical activity or something. It's the mental side of that too.
Yeah, there's a huge mental side of it, and honestly, like our bodies were designed to do certain things, and if we don't, like that certain things start like it's like you use it or you lose it, like kind of thing. It's like our bodies are designed to be able to walk across continents. Like that's like what some of our ancestors did, you know? So like the fact that we don't do that is going to have a weird effect on our bodies. You know, if we just sit at a computer, in our minds. And if we just sit at a computer screen all day, you know what I mean? Like it's hard to actualize, like you said earlier, like because you're not using yourself to your full advantage. You know what I mean? You're not using your body or your mind to your full advantage.
It's part of that balancing act, right? Finding the time for that, but then like, you know, if you're gonna be part of society, doing the society stuff and all of it. It's it can be tricky, but no, it
is. But it's an individual journey. Like everybody has, and it's endless. Like it's never going to be perfect one day. You're not going to figure it out one day.
But it's important to do it how you have to do it. You know what I mean? In conjunction with working with other people and respecting the world around you and all that, you know, and enjoying the world around you and other people's journeys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Most definitely, bro. Yeah. But it was good chopping it up with you, bro.
Dude, this is a great talk. I honestly didn't know where we were gonna go, but that was
it all kind of like intertwines and like mixes together. You know, like it all kind of finds a place, and like it's easy when you have people like who are really just like genuinely engaged in like the self-awareness and like stuff like that. So it's like you're not trying to sell me something. I'm not trying to sell you anything. We're just kind of talking.
We're just chopping it up. Yeah, dude. No, it's cool. I found out a lot more about like how much like-minded we are, which is really cool. For sure, and I mean, obviously, again, we know each other through music, and like we hit on that a few times. But yeah, dude, good talk, man. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you for coming. This has been Chillin.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you on the next episode.
Yeah.
Subscribe. Check out Head Trips, like all Lance's music.
Yeah.
On all platforms. The Head Trips.
Yep. The Head Trips _ band on the socials. I also play with the Riley Burke band, rileyburke.music. Also, we could probably talk about this another time too, but hoping to get my solo music out there and off the ground. So
yeah, excited for that for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man.
All right, much love. Shout out to our fans, our friends, Riley Burke. They're great people.
Indigo Forest right here.
Thank you, man.
He's the man.
Yeah, so stay tuned for the next one.
Cool.
All right.